7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's the Township of Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals meeting here on Monday, October 17th. And please, everybody rise and pay respects to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Secretary noting the roll.
Noted.
Item 4 on the agenda, approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion to move. Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? All approved? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we have approval for the agenda for tonight's meeting. Item 5, approval of the minutes for the regular meeting that was our last meeting, June 13th. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve the...
No, to approve, yes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have approval of the minutes, item 5. Item 6, public comments on items that are not on tonight's agenda. 7:02, I'll close the public comments for items not on this agenda. In item 7, new business, we have an applicant that's present tonight. And the new business is 22 ZBA 002B Mills, 925 North Lapeer Road, P0422-101, 003 Legacy Center. The applicant is requesting a change in conditions of a previous variance approved by the ZBA on October 9, 2017 to allow the township staff authority to approve a change in location of signs rather than requiring approval of the planning commission. The applicant's here. Come on forward, state your name, address, and please give us a clear understanding of your variance that you're looking to get approved tonight.
All right, good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. Christian Mills, 925 North Lapeer Road. I represent the Legacy Center. To put it very simply, we want to change the approval language because the building is ever changing. So when we came in here 3 years ago, it was very specific to where each sign would be, the size of the sign, etc. So we're not asking for any additional square footage in signage based on that approval, but we do need to be able to change the size, the location, the quantity, and the copy without coming for a board approval. As long as it stays in the 4,000, whatever the total signage, sorry, 4,048 square feet of the building. So, and the approval process, we'd like it to be approved by the township administrator and or the board. So that's all we're asking for. And the purpose for this is to accommodate, we have tenants that don't have signs represented, and there's always mixing, matching of tenants. Tenants are growing or expanding. So that's what we're asking for. It's too expensive. The current process now, when I need a sign put up, I have to spend whatever amount of money and schedule a board meeting to change the sign. And I think the Township is more than capable of allowing us to do that, as long as we're not adding square footage to the building that's been approved.
Would you be interested, can the board ask you some questions?
Sure.
I think there's quite a lot here. I didn't know if you were done with your...
Yes, that's it.
Okay, so, is there any questions from the board at this point?
You say,
And what his variance is, what he's
well, I was
asking for?
curious, like, you say staff, what, like, is there a certain specific person, like the building inspector, or who to have you be able to approve?
Well, the
change of
township
signage?
administration, we'd like to be able to go through the normal township process of approval for a sign versus having to come to a board meeting.
And that would be you'd submit an application, they'd review it, and
Yeah.
issue the sign, right?
And we've done that. We've submitted, for example, 3 applications for our signs. They're all denied because of our, variance in signage and the language for approval. That was based on the approval from 2017, I think.
So basically, you're wanting to just go up to the desk out there, submit an application, and they review and then approve or deny or whatever?
Yes, that's correct. So it's not like we can do whatever we want.
Well, but you'd have to, I'm trying to figure out who would have the, like, final say on,
Well, right now it's Zach, he's the zoning administrator or the planner?
it's a planning commission?
Township planner. So he's the one who approves the signs. So yes, we go to the window, we fill out an application, give them all the specifications of that, like anyone else that would apply for a sign. And this would allow, for example, most of the copy, we might have a larger sign area, but we only need a sign that's 122 square feet. I'll give you an example, K1 Speed. K1 Speed approved sign area was almost double the actual sign needed. So we reduced that signage, put the appropriate sign up, but that gives us some square feet that we can apply to another sign in another location. So I'll give you another example. So we have a Swiss insurance agency who has moved his office into the north side of the building, and he'd like to put a plaque in front of his door. So the way it's written now, I would have to come to this meeting, to this board, to get approval to put a plaque in front of his door. And it seems excessive.
So at this point, you're looking for no change in square foot,
Correct?
or what the current conditions have been since 2017.
Correct.
Now, you're looking for a change in size, location, quantity, and copy, you mentioned.
Sure.
Did I cover those?
That's correct.
And copy is, can you maybe,
Well, we have a new business, like we're changing, coffee shop is changing names, so we have a new
Okay.
tenant, so we have to put a new sign up.
okay. And so you're asking for a condition that the planning commission have the ability to approve a sign if there are no changes made to the facade and changes to the location, as long as they do not change the square foot or number of signs. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'd like it to read, Planning Commission and/or Township Administration can have the ability to change copy, quantity, size, and location.
So you want to add the township administration onto the planning commission?
Yeah, for those 4 things.
So and, or is it a or?
And/or.
And, okay.
And/or.
Okay, I'm just trying to get a clear understanding of what you're...
Yeah, this way,
asking us
if we run into a situation, we can still come to the board and,
to- Sure.
discuss it, but that should not be the normal course of business.
And is there any other considerations that we should make on what you're asking for us to discuss tonight? That's what it basically is. That's it, no paint, no other signage, none of that stuff?
No, the murals are
Materials, none
fine.
of that.
Yep. Everything else is okay.
Just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, when he's saying the board, what he means is the planning commission. Because the original motion read that it had to go back to the planning commission.
Yes.
Not just for everybody
this
else,
board,
not
I'm
the
sorry,
township
yeah.
board.
Yes, yeah.
Not the township board, not the ZBA, it was the planning commission.
I took it as if he needed to make a change to, or grant another variance, he'd have to come to our board for an
Yes.
appeal, right?
That's what I'm referring to, yes. the
Okay, okay. Okay. Any other questions?
I think I'd kind of like to get a kind of a feel of what kind of changes. I mean, I understand keeping within the square footage, but it was also clear 32 signs, 18 murals. So, I mean, how many more signs are we talking about? How many more murals are we talking about? What are we in for?
There's no surprises. You can see what's on the building is pretty much complete. But we are looking to add 4 signs. It's actually 2 additional signs. And there are 2 signs that we would change that are up there. For example, there's a restaurant sign that says, I think, how many square feet is the current restaurant sign?
244, I believe that one.
So it's we don't need all that space. And we want to put the name of our restaurant, 925 Bar and Kitchen, because no one knows, they're not reading that sign. So nobody knows there's a bar and kitchen actually there. So we would create a smaller sign. And then next to it, I would like to add, 925 Banquet and Events, because nobody knows that we have a banquet and event center in our building.
And as an example, you would use, like, if this was approved to go through the township, this new sign that you want to add with this kitchen sign, you would just go through the administration, basically to the desk, fill out your application and stuff, and then have it processed accordingly.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's not looking for any difference in what we've already decided, right? Other than adding
More.
and/or township administration to the...
The authority of the administration would be to change copy, location, quantity, and size.
But for this purposes of this board, the size and location has already been determined.
Yes.
Right, and I think we talked about that. It's been a little while.
It's been a while.
But it was a 2-hour meeting. I think
Yes.
we all went
It's
through it a
been
couple
multiple.
times, right?
We went through it a couple times, that's right.
So I think the content of those locations and whatever, you decide, because it is evolving, right? I mean, you have a great building there. You support our community so well. Whatever's in that little size and that footprint, that's what this board is really here to
Yeah, we're
to
not
help you with.
expecting, we would not add more square footage to a certain location unless it's approved. And
Right.
most of our signs, we're looking to move towards, more like a K1 speed where people can actually see the sign.
Right. Okay. Is that it? Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Item 8, board member comments.
The only comment really I would have would be like, who is going to make that final approval? Will it get eventually sent over to the planning commission, the head of the planning commission, or township supervisor, or us, or... That's the only question I would have. I have no problem with it going through that type of a process, but you have to have one person that actually says, okay. Or maybe even a group of people saying, okay. I'm not sure on that one.
So,
Go ahead.
the normal course of events is a person would go to our building department, and that would go to our zoning administrator, and then in our building administrator, and he would probably, I'm going to guess, discuss it with our planner. Okay, so it's all within the building department that would end up being the
the one that
administrators
has-
of those,
Okay,
of that.
That's what
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out where it was gonna end
Yeah,
up.
that's how I
Like, whose
believe
lap
that it
it's
would
in.
work. I don't know for sure.
It's like if anyone comes in with a sign application, you know, on some site plans, we do provide documentation of what the sign's gonna be in an area.
right.
And if they want more, obviously they come to us. If it meets the requirements,
That, yeah,
they're
I
issued a permit.
understand that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we know where it's gonna be, we know what the murals are, we know what the signs are, we've kind of worked that framework. Just trying to, I think, be a little more flexible and give them a little
Right.
more ability instead
That I
of having to go
understand
through a
that.
longer process. I'm not thinking that we really didn't, that wasn't really our intent, but I think it was more to deal with significant changes to the facade and other things.
Well, I do
But
know
I don't
I've
think
seen
we
it
meant to make
changing
it that
over the course of
complicated
time, so
to get
it
a
is
sign.
changing and evolving, you
The
might
nature of
say.
the building is that they're always gonna have different businesses in
Right, but
there.
we gave him the framework, right?
could they-
And
they
what
have
he does in that
specific-
framework
Right.
is up to, right now, the planning commission.
Yeah, as long as he meets the,
As long as he meets that
Required
requirements,
framework.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where, yeah.
so as long as he meets the framework of what we,
Stays within the
decided
parameters
5 years
that's
ago.
already been set, basically, for sizing and, you know,
Location.
spacing and what have you, but just making it easier if they need to make changes because a new business pops in or one leaves or changes its name, they have a more flexible option to be able to get things taken care of.
Approval here at our location, right?
Right.
Through the,
Right.
yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd also like to call your attention to the planner's report, page 4, that third highlighted paragraph, requesting some clarification.
Okay, we have a letter from Kyle Wortman dated October 11th. On page 4, is this what you highlighted?
no, it's this one
Yeah,
here.
that third, that
Yep,
third
that one right there.
highlighted paragraph.
So the staff requests clarification from the zoning board of appeals with respect to whether or not the October 9th, 2017 variance approval was limited to signage painted on walls and described in the application materials, as described in the application materials, or if the variance approval allows for box or channel signs that extend past the building facade. So in looking back to the 2017 October 9th variance approval, did we mention the materials on that? Corey, do you remember back then? Because I thought we were talking painted materials at that time.
Well, it says in the minutes that we are granting the signs and murals are per the plan provided as amended with our comments and discussion this evening. So,
And so we'd have to go to the plans, and I believe the plans, we have a copy of those.
we
and
had,
those were all
very
painted.
specific signs over and above the murals,
Right, right.
so.
But that did not include box or channel signs,
Right.
from what I remember. And I
Correct.
think we had that on the print, right? Maybe that's.
No,
what-
because wasn't there another meeting for the big LED signs that are on the wall?
I believe so.
No,
It wasn't with us,
it wasn't with us.
no.
That had to go through the planning commission, I would think. Christian, can you maybe help us with that one? Because I think we gave you the square footage and location, but we didn't,
I mean, at the time, we painted on most of those signs.
yeah.
But I don't think there was specification for painting signs. It just happened to be that that's what we had
That's what we were
done.
doing, yeah.
And in the interim, we have approval for box signs. We have approval for a digital sign, so they've already, set precedents and given us approval for those signs.
Through the planning commission, you got approval?
It
One of
was,
the permits that we submitted in.
it was through Boardman.
Oh, through Mr. Wortman, okay. Because he's asking for clarification if he,
Permitted to do that.
He's the one who approved it. Here's the approval dates and.
do we have a copy of that? approval?
Yeah, this is the K1 speed.
That's the newest one for BMK. This is K1 Speed.
This is the approval, this is the rooted logic sign that was approved.
Okay.
Oops. And that's approved through the planner.
So those box signs that you're looking at there, they're included in the square footage, though?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
maximum?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just a
All right.
change of,
Okay.
Of the way it's done?
and
Okay.
here's the K1 speed,
Okay.
signed by the township. So those are, that process, this is,
Okay. Yeah, this didn't get approved through this board, it was just...
did not. We submitted it
Okay.
to the township.
So his, actually, this question should go back to the board, that would be the correct board to answer that question. Am I stating that right, board members?
It should go back to where?
It should, Kyle Wortman's asking for clarification of the zoning board of appeals with respect to whether or not the October 9th, 2016 variance approval is limited to signage painted on walls as described in the application materials, or if the variance approval allows for the box or channel signs that extend past the building facade.
There's no language in there that states it's limited to any medium.
I think it was just you have this many square feet, you have 32 signs, 18 murals,
Yeah,
going.
No, we didn't
wisely.
limit it. I mean, it's just signs.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
allowed
we
32
didn't.
signs,
I
18
mean, I think
murals.
our understanding at the time was would be painted, but it didn't say painted, it just said signs.
we understood it because that's the way you had it at that time, was
Right.
painted, right? So
Yes.
any of
Oh,
that goes to the
Boardman is
direct.
also approved.
Yeah, and it was probably,
Yes.
Zach
Other
might
signs.
have asked that question because he wasn't our assigned planner at that time.
Right,
Right.
okay.
And I don't know if it was
No, he
Lauren,
approved
I
this
don't
last
know
sign.
that.
3 ago.
Pardon?
He approved this last box sign from our tenant
What year was that? Was it,
a month ago.
oh, I thought somebody said it was like a few years ago.
So I had, one was, yeah, the K1 speed was a few years ago.
Okay.
And that was his predecessor. But this last sign he approved, Zach did.
Here's the email from Lauren Carlson about the digital.
It was Lauren Carlson.
Yeah, because if you look at the
I was like,
second,
oh, go back.
his second paragraph, he also asked a couple of potential conditions or limitations might be that the staff can only approve change or location within the approved facade, or that the staff can only approve changes, but not changes of the sign area, meaning transferring approved sign from one sign to another. So one sign can come off, a new sign can go up, as long as they stay within the 32 signs, 18 murals. If we go to 33, 36, 40 signs, then we're over that. I think is what he's trying to clarify here.
Well, the quantity is important to us. And I'll give you an example in the front of the building because, we would stay within the square footage, but we only accommodated signs for the tenants that were there at the time. So, if we can't put a plaque, this is Mark Swiskowski, he's, one of our tenants there. And so he's just moved in. And so both him and, we have a local agent, they'd like to put a sign in front of their door. So I don't know which sign I would remove on the front of the building to be able to accommodate, a sign on their door. But we would take square footage from other signs, not to increase it, but, we need the flexibility. And there's no other reason for us to have an additional sign other than a need, right? So I wouldn't put a sign on the front of my building unless I have a tenant, or, sign a lease for someone inside the building.
But will this exceed the quantities already approved?
On the front of the building, it would exceed the quantity approved, yes.
But you'd still remain within the square footage area.
That's correct.
And that becomes a challenge for administration to make sure they get the right quantities as far as square footage. So, think of that from an administrative standpoint of a building official having to figure that, keep track.
Yeah.
Instead of having a piece of paper he keeps scratching out.
I mean, the way we handle it now is we just label each sign, add them to the spreadsheet, and have them total them up.
Yeah, I mean, that's the logical way to do that. Just a living, breathing document as you go forward. Because without it, it gets to be very convoluted. That's why we spent a long, long time figuring out the murals and square footage and locations.
And we were predicting what, the future would lie with, future businesses that he was going to have in that building as well.
What Todd just shared with me is, and who said that to you?
Between when we met, Zach said with the building inspector, we would create an
we gotta have you on the mic.
Yeah, what's your name?
Name and address. And
Todd Karen and 925 North Lapeer with Christian.
Okay.
We had a meeting October 11th here with Zach and the township attorneys and Jack and all of us. And what the building inspector had said, we would create a digital file as-built drawing of the elevation, and then we would keep a rolling as-built so that we didn't run into the problem you had just mentioned. We actually already have it all digitally, so when we come in for a permit, it would be numbered on the key. They would change it on the as-built so that we never exceeded that square footage.
Okay.
Okay.
And if you did, then you're out of variance, right?
If we did, then they made it all very clear in the meeting, then we would have to come back to you and ask for more square footage. Because that 4,048 is broken up over the 4 elevations of the building.
Sure.
So.
Okay.
And Mr. Mills, you said that this would only be for the front facade along Lapeer Road? That you'd be looking to do this?
No, this would apply for the entire building.
Okay.
This would apply for the entire building. But you still have the same, there's an authority that has to approve it.
Right.
So if we go over the square footage, they would deny it. So there's still, you have checks and balances there.
Yeah, I just want to make this, if it is going to happen, make it easy for our admin people. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. So I jumped ahead a little bit. Sorry about that. Meeting procedure, we got an applicant statement. I jumped the open public hearing. Is there anybody from the public that'd like to make comment on the...
Yep, we have somebody.
Yeah, please. Your name and address, and I'll give you 3 minutes for a public statement.
Right, thank you. Yes. Good evening. Mary Ann Keynes. I'm a resident of Stony Lake Village Condos, 149 Stony Lake Drive. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in regards to this. Stony Lake Village Condos has always had an issue with the signage at Legacy Center, and we've been going on like 7 years now. And what concerned us about allowing someone else to do the approval process outside of the Planning Commission was just what we've been discussing, the self-regulation by Legacy as to how much square footage they currently have. They're mentioning 4,048 square footage, but I believe it's only 3,698 that is approved up to this. And that's the 4th increase over the last few years to get to that point. So that 4,048 I don't believe is correct. So that's one data fact I wanted to bring to your attention. Of course, we are concerned about the west side of the building, and as Mr. Mills said, when you give the free approval, he mentioned no, it would not just be the front north side or east and south, but also the west side, and that of course is what's facing Lake Duels and facing our complex, so that is of concern to us. Going back, way back to 2000, I believe it's 15 or so, when the Legacy moved into its current location, we had talked about signage with the Planning Commission, and there were things that were said that I just kind of wanted to reiterate again. It was mentioned there would never be any rooftop signs or anything extending outside of the building signature, and it was just mentioned again this evening, so I just want to make sure that that is still true. Also, there was not going to be any what I believe we call monument sign because of the MDOT easement along Lapeer Road. There would never be, like you have a mall that has a large sign that shows the different businesses. That would not be allowable. Mr. Mills has been in violation a number of times because of the overextensive, over the amount of square footage signage that was currently approved. So that's always been a concern of ours. He mentioned that 925 social logo that was painted, that was in excess of what was approved. Now he says he's going to tame that down and put a banquet and event center signs. So things are always changing, and it's kind of self-policing by the Legacy Center and their operations manager. In order to alleviate new businesses coming in and those exiting, that was thought years and years ago. And what was proposed by the Planning Commission was that the building be divided into 4 quadrants, similar to what we do with malls, these days. In each quadrant, the main entrance into that area would have a listing of the businesses that were physically located within that quadrant. That way, if the business came in or out, it would be much easier to swap out that than to paint a whole new logo above a door on the exterior of the building. Yep. So I just wanted to bring that up again because that was never implemented.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm concerned about the township staff being the verbiage used about who can approve these signs, because I would really like to see, at least for the west side of the building, that the Planning Commission be in charge of approving that, because you don't know what's going to be taken down and what square footage is going to be added in the rear of the building, which is the side that impacts us mostly. And my concern this evening was what township staff, who is that, and how are they going to, be able to do everything? So, and I just wanted to mention too that the packet.
You've exceeded your time.
Okay, the packet was just posted within 24 hours.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I don't know if my counterpart, Mr. Don Boshan, wants to speak.
Well, I'll call him.
Okay.
Are there any other comments from the public? Please come up, state your name and address.
Sure, my
You'll
name is
have 3 minutes as well.
Don Bogshan. I live at 843 Stony Lake Court. My concern is I received a public notice saying that there's 2 items, A and B, and I show up today and on the agenda there's 1.
Item A was scratched.
I need some explanation on that. Number 2 is this, I have the same concern that Mary Ann has, that the specification for signage is 3,698 square feet, so stated on my notice, and now I'm hearing 4,048. I'll need further explanation on that. The other thing is and/or, that is, to me, a license for them to, just do what they want to do. You're going to have some hourly person here as the or. They have no skin in the game. They don't care what's up there. They're going to leave. They're going to go back to their home, wherever they live. I have to live with that 24/7. And it's too loosey-goosey. I say drop the or, just keep the and. Okay? So, but please explain to me the difference on the square footage and the reasons why there's only 1 item on this agenda when I received a notice stating 2.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Please come up, state your name and your address.
Yep,
please.
my name is Mark Swiskowski. I'm with Swiss Insurance Group, and we're a tenant in the building, 925 Suite 197. So a little clarification here from what I'm understanding too is that we're on the far north end of the building. Myself and a guy, Dave Rayner, he owns a real estate company in the area. We're kind of taking over that north end, and there was never any signage on that front part of the offices. Therefore, to add 2 signs for our businesses that are going to take up and hopefully beautify that area as well is one of the things that we're really hoping to do. And we understand that there's already been approvals for certain amounts of square footage and things like that. But I think having the signs that do light up, that people can see and notice your business versus when you drive by, a lot of cars are going 50, 60 miles an hour and don't really notice these businesses. And signage is very important for our businesses so people can recognize we're there and we can continue to be there and support the community. So I just wanted to let that be known as well, that, what we're trying to do. There really wasn't anything on that far north end of the building by the offices, and we're trying to build that into something that's attractive. So that's why I'm here, trying to understand some of this as well.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Your public comment or no?
Can I be
State your name. Although you're the applicant, there's public comment now, right?
Yes. Christian Mills, 925 North Repair. First of all, Ms. Mary Ann Kane's comments for the record, are inaccurate. And every time we have a meeting here, so we're going to document this. I'll probably end up using this for litigation because it's slander. Every comment that she states, she spouts without real documentation. She has no backup for her information. The square footage approval on the building, you can read in the meeting minutes. You have it in front of you. It's 4,000, how many?
46, 42 for
4,000,
sign.
46, 42. So I have not changed this. This has not been changed multiple times. So that statement is inaccurate. As far as us being able to change what we like, I wouldn't be standing here if I could do what I like and support my tenants and have sign applications disapproved and take months and months and months to support our businesses. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much.
Yep. I'll close the public hearing
It was in public notice, by the way, that they sent to us.
at 7:36. So, in terms of the agenda was changed, right? The section A was scratched from the meeting before, well before the meeting. You may not have got that, but it was scratched out. And also in the October 9th, 2017, the motion shows that the total signage of the building is $36.98, like you mentioned, if the sign S9 is changed. If not, it's $4,048. So the records are there for what square foot is permitted. And this is all documented. If there is any change to the variance, of course, this board would know. If there's anything outside the variance, we have a ordinance officer as well that can help track that stuff down. So please be reassured that those things are being looked at by the township and they'll be corrected. Item 5, building administrator comments. Building administrator's not here, so we'll scratch that. Board member questions and comments, item 6 in the meeting procedure. Any comments, any questions from the board? Anything to add to the public comment? Seeing none. Let's go through the findings of fact. Item 7. We're into section 17.8, subsection C1, item 1, strict compliance with restrictions to governing area, setback, frontage, height, bulk, density, and other non-use matters will unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for the permitted purpose or will render ordinance conformity unnecessary burdensome. Board members?
So in this context, it's strict compliance with the condition that he go in front of the planning commission for any changes, right?
Correct. And would we need a new motion for that? No, right? But if we wanted to add, which he's asking to add the township administrator, right? And that's what we're looking for right now, as an and an or, as he mentioned.
And location copy on
We're looking at our, yeah. Now they would have that they'd have that decision themselves, right? So we're looking at it as a variance to the existing motion that has already been approved to add and/or township administrator to that motion.
It was was never meant to, I don't think, to make that process overly burdensome. That it would take months to get a permit for a sign. I mean, we had the areas, we have everything in place.
So with the planning
I think
commission,
it does apply. This particular case.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the last part.
And that was not really intent. We gave them the areas, gave the ideas. We just didn't, it's like a standard sign.
Yeah, so the motion that was approved back in 2017, right? It says the condition that the planning commission can have the ability to approve a sign if there's no changes to the facade or changes in location, as long as they do not change the square footage or number of signs. So we didn't, I think at that time, like Jim's saying, I agree with him, right? It does apply because we didn't think that it would be unreasonably to prevent the owner from having an extended period of time to get for the permitted purpose of what he's trying to approve in that condition.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Does that
but
make sense?
At the same time, I think when we did all this, we thought it was you have this many square foot of sign, this many square feet of murals, you get a total of 32 signs, 18 murals, done.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we want to add to it, then it does need to go back to the planning commission. I mean, that was my impression of this meeting, or this motion, was that, we gave all kinds of additions, but it was done. That was it.
Right. And his hardship is the planning commission is taking an exorbitant amount of time and it's burdensome to him, right? So are you saying that it'll apply then?
Yeah, I think so. I think it does apply. It is making it burdensome.
Any other comments? Item 2, the problem and resulting need for the variance has not been self-created by the applicant and or the applicant's predecessors.
You jump down to 5.
Yeah.
You gotta go to 2. The variance will do substantial justice to the applicant. You jump down.
I'm going right off of the sheet here.
Okay, then go off your,
I'm sorry.
just the way the ordinance is written.
You probably have an older book like mine, Jeff.
Oh, I do. You're right, I'm
I
sorry.
have a new book.
My bad. Well, I mean, the issue that we're dealing with is not really self-created by them, it's self-created, it's the process of getting through and making the change.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the nature of the business.
The nature of the business, it is changing.
Item 3, a lesser variance can request, the lesser variance then requested will not give substantial relief to the applicant and will not be more consistent with justice to other property owners. A lesser variance
I don't know if it won't exist.
doesn't really exist, does it?
No.
Item 4, the variance will do substantial justice to the applicant as well as the other property owners.
I don't know that one is really gonna benefit the other property owners.
But it will do justice to the applicant, of
It'll
course.
give relief to the
Yeah.
applicant for sure, right? Item 5, the need of variance is due to the unique circumstances peculiar to the property and not generally applicable in the area or to other properties in the same zoning district.
I'd agree with that.
It is a unique building, a unique situation, for sure.
So do we have a motion? This was your last one, Jim, so I don't know if you want to...
I'll let somebody else have this one.
So what is the wordage or verbiage that we want to add to or change if this is to be approved?
Copy, quantity, location, and size.
So we also grant the condition that the planning commission and or township administrator, right?
Yep.
No change of square foot or number of signs? As long as they do not change the number of square foot or number of signs, right?
Well, the number of signs will likely go up. It's the square footage.
But shouldn't they go back through the planning commission if they're gonna add more signs, or is that a
that's-
variance
that's
that
the
we
condition
should
we
take care of?
So, I mean, you can make your motion the way you'd like to. We can get more than one motion too.
Well, and my thinking is, I mean, we've given 4642 for signs, 6206 for murals, so you got a total of 10,848 to play with there. 32 signs, 18 murals, so a total of 50 there. My thing is, I think they should stay within that limit. If a new sign needs to be added, you know,
Then
maybe replace it with one of the murals that may not need to be there, because there are a lot of duplicates. So if somebody needs a new sign, replace it with one of the duplicates or something else, but
And I don't think it would detract from the building either by, you know, if you maybe change the painting structure a little bit.
We just have more tenants.
So, do we have a motion, or
Trying to figure out how to,
Margie's thinking down
I'm
there?
trying to work it out.
Would you like a suggestion, and then it could be modified or added however
Yes,
Sure.
yes,
somebody wanted?
that would be helpful.
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. With regard to 22 ZBA 002B, 925 North Lapeer Road, parcel number 0422101003 Legacy Center, based on the findings of fact listed above, to approve the variance to change conditions of a previous variance approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals on 10/9/2017 to allow the Planning Commission and/or Township administrative staff the authority to approve a change in size, quantity, location, and copy of signs, rather than requiring approval only of the Planning Commission.
That's my
As long as
motion.
they do not increase the total square footage of signs previously approved. This is based on the public hearing and discussion within the findings of fact listed above.
That's my motion.
That sounds
And that
pretty
was
good.
basically verbatim off of what we already had here for his, but there was some changes that he had made.
Yes, I tried to
Okay.
incorporate the changes that you
Just-
made
okay.
during your discussion.
Support for discussion.
So that was your motion? Mm-hmm. You have a second?
I second that.
Support it, and would like to discuss it?
No.
No?
so we're keeping to
Just make sure that we got a clear understanding of the motion?
the square footage. The number of signs can change as long as the overall square footage does not change.
Correct.
Now, question for that, I mean, we have very specific drawings showing specific square footage on specific sides, right? Of the
Right.
building.
Right.
We're
Each
keeping
elevation.
to that each has, it's north, south, east, and west, all
Yes.
has the same. It's just he can break up, if he needs to, the allotted square footage for, let's say, the east elevation, which is Lapeer frontage, as long as he does not exceed the signage area. He can change the number, but not exceed the signage area.
I don't know how that would work, because like the guy that's got the insurance and real estate down here, if that square footage is used up, his sign is gonna be on the south side of the building. If we stick to that type, or that tight a square footage,
Or if he's even used up all the square footage.
exactly.
We don't know that. That's what we don't know. How much
Unless
square footage really
there's
on that
another
building?
mural that could come off
Well,
and
that-
put this sign in its place.
That'd be different. That'd be a change.
Different, yeah.
That'd be a change. We have the murals, we have the signs.
Then it'd go
But if he has signage, let's say for instance, hypothetically, on the east side, he's 200 square feet short, right? On total signage. He could go put that 200 square feet somewhere, is what we're saying. So, he could do it. If he can, he's out of square footage area. He has to come up with something innovative. if somebody wants to sign, is the way I see it.
So the quantities can change. Right now, they're allowed 32, so that can go to 50 if need be, as long as
Fits
the
within the
46,
Square
40
footage does not exceed.
Does
what
not
we've
exceed.
approved. The 40, 48.
40, 48.
Where do you see 40, 48?
4048's on our motion from October 9th, 2017.
Yeah.
That's the total square footage of sign. That was,
I was seeing,
Right here.
right there, Corey.
okay,
Yep.
okay, I
got
was
it?
seeing
Oh,
this.
you're seeing that, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That was-
Yeah, you're right.
So are we,
We're good.
we're good?
Any other comments?
Do we, I mean, there's an understanding that there will be a living, breathing document related to when they submit stuff. Do we want to put any language in that to cover that, or are we comfortable?
Would you like to ask who made the motion?
I think you should, I think you should vote on this one and then make another motion if you want to add language. Otherwise, you gotta vote on your amendment, then vote on your original motion. It's cleaner if you just vote on your original motion, then make another one if
Agreed,
you want to.
agreed.
Agreed. Okay,
We're good.
we have a motion, a second. No further comment, discussion? Let's go to a vote.
Bailey?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Magley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
And Payne, yes. Motion carries.
You're granted your variance. In the variance.
Motion?
Variance in the
We
variance.
gotta frame this thing.
Is there
We gotta
another?
make this
Yeah.
motion.
We're gonna do an amended motion?
No, I'm trying to think how I would frame this.
What is it you're trying to?
Well, you know, the township right now has a document, and there's a living, breathing matrix for the signage. So somebody comes in, they know, they can just make it very simple, just to check it. I mean, that can stay alone. If they're doing the process now, they're doing the process. It's okay, I guess.
That's, yeah.
If it's working, it's working.
Managed by the township, right?
Well, I would think if
legacy
the township has a problem with the way it's being handled, then they would send it forward to the planning commission.
All right, I'll leave it alone.
So we're good?
Yep, I'll leave it alone.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Mr. Mills.
We gotta tell Cheryl she's gotta write our monthly reports.
Are there any other board member comments?
I have none.
We haven't seen each other for
Yeah,
a while, so.
Learning
We
experience
see each other
tonight.
again?
Yeah.
I wasn't here during that
Your
last,
unique,
I wasn't here,
meeting,
yeah, I wasn't here the last time, so I don't
Yeah,
know
we-
all what was, how it went,
this has
what
probably been the
happened.
first like this in a bunch of years, so,
Yeah.
if ever, so.
I need
Thank
to
you
get,
for your patience tonight, guys, and Margie.
oh, thank you for the learning experience. I mean, it,
This is very.
took me down a different road with things as opposed to, like when we had the Culver sign situation.
Yeah,
This is a whole different, like, animal, you might say.
yeah, I've never really had a chance to amend or create a motion off of a motion that's already been approved. That's unique. Do we have a
Interesting.
motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Meeting, good night.